We've talked about the books, we've talked about the articles, we've talked about firefighterclosecalls.com. The reality is these drills and resources are great, but let's be honest, you have to use them for them to count. You have to have gumption in this business. Whether it's your diet, your sleep, your training, we have to realize that an LODD often has very deep roots in the day-to-day choices that we make. So with that said, how does a low-level firefighter affect change in their department? What if they have a superior that's against training, or a fire chief that doesn't give priority to the implementation of a training division beyond pencil whipping some PowerPoints? How do the boots on the ground get their voices heard without being reprimanded or downtrodden for their efforts? How do we bring everyone together when so often the herd mentality is the less work, the better? The bare minimum is okay. How do you change that mentality from the bottom?
Well, you never stop throwing the mud. Make sure just understand that some will stick and some won't. I mean, that's a never give up philosophy. And I mean, I've been a training officer since the 70s, and I promoted up in the late 70s to lieutenant. And I've been surrounded by all kinds of knuckleheads, idiots, morons, and people who shouldn't even be wearing bunker gear. But it doesn't mean I'm going to accept it to be any differently. Now, yes, when you become an officer, it makes it a little bit easier. So let's address it from a firefighter standpoint or a brand new officer. You got to set the tone from day one. Again, let me address it as an officer first, then we'll come back to firefighter, because that is a different dynamic. As an officer,
Absolutely.
you have the we have the responsibility. So it's not like you really have a choice. And I saw a great quote today that Ray McCormick, and I put it on my Instagram feed. And it basically goes something to the effect of so many officers have let their firefighters down simply by not having daily training. Well, you know what? Just have daily training. Just have a drill a day. Just commit your career. And that can be career, volunteer. If you're volunteer, have a drill a week. And don't just get there and say, oh, what should we drill on now? Have 52 drills planned ahead for the entire year. Again, there's many places you can go. You go to Firefighter Close Calls. We have a full year's worth, multiple years worth of drills that are available to you right now. Okay. So that's the way you do it. And you make it where there's no choice. Now, I want to share a story with you about a fire officer who was one of my favorite captains who worked for me about 1,000,000 years ago. His name was Danny Corder. And Danny had a crew that didn't want to do physical fitness. And Danny was the kind of guy who was doing fitness all the time. You'd go nuts around this guy. You know, you couldn't have fried food and all that. So Danny was all about fitness, but his crew was really balking at it. So he'd be working out, he'd be on the bicycle thing and all that, and he got tired of it. He says, come on, let's get on the truck. So he put his crew on the truck, and they went out to a subdivision. He got everybody off the truck, and he told the driver, go 2 miles down the road, I'll meet you in a little while. And he made everybody walk to the truck. He got them to do something. Oh, what if there was a fire? The truck would have come back for them. I mean, come on, don't be ridiculous, right? So that was, to me, so symbolic of a leader looking outside the box. How do I get these people to move? And if you can get these people to walk 2 miles a day, that's a good accomplishment. Now, maybe they're not lifting weights, but you do that enough, and then their belt starts to get a little looser. Their collar's a little looser. They go, hey, maybe, you know what? And that's kind of how you get the fire moving on these people. And now maybe we want to lift some weights, and maybe you want to do some push-ups. You know, I don't know. But you can't give up. It's not like it's your right to give up. If you're an officer, you've got to. Now, let's look at the firefighter and the officer who answer your question are surrounded by a boss that doesn't want to do these things. They just don't get it. Well, then you get a little subversive. You get a little bit, kind of sneaky. And you start posting things on the bulletin board in the firehouse of articles of where things have gone bad. You share email to everybody in your organization. You get a video of this thing going wrong. You get an article from Kurt Varone, who says about this fire chief getting jammed up in court. And again, everything I just talked about for the last 5 minutes on this subject to this question is about throwing the mud, keep throwing it until something sticks. I don't mean throwing mud at somebody. I guess you got to be careful these days, right? But I'm talking about don't let your enthusiasm stop. Don't let these people. Hey, people told me in the 70s I'd burn out. I'm still the fastest to get on the road, the most gung-ho, and I love the job. Now, Do I know my place today? Absolutely. Is my place crawling down a hall with an air pack? Pretty damn rare. My place is to go there and support the young officers who are running these fires. And the question when I get there is, what do you need? How can I help? Right? That's kind of what I do. But I'm as enthusiastic. I'm gung-ho. I love the job. I'm not going to stop loving it until I either start drooling or a doctor tells me I got to stop. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going. And that's what you have to have. You can't let, you're going to have people slowing you down all the time. Don't let that get to you. Move on. And it's not easy. I get it. Once in a while, you're going to be bummed out. You're going to be down for a day or two. But then pick yourself back up and remember what it felt like the day you got on the job and get motivated. And you know what? Eventually, that chief's going to retire or they're going to die or something like that. And they'll move out of the way. And hopefully somebody more gung-ho or enthusiastic is going to take up that place. But you can't ever give up.
That's great advice.